And so I had a manager yesterday get mad at one of the reps. The guy was like, I don't like ringing the gong. He's like, I won't ring it unless it's a $30,000 deal. And I was like, is the gong for you or is the gong for them? Morning meetings, I call it sales inertia, meaning what's on the couch stays on the couch. What's in motion stays in motion. And I watch people fail to activate, meaning to go from like, I'm watching Game of Thrones to, all right, let's get out of the couch and just go knock doors. Like by yourself, you have no environment. There's nobody like at the neighborhood being like, where you at, bro? Where you at? Like, you know what I mean? It's like 2 o'clock hits, 3 o'clock hits, 5 o'clock hits, 6 o'clock hits. No neighbors are like, man, that door-to-door guy's late. He should be here by now. You know, it's like, we're like in a traditional W-2 job. They're like, oh, you're supposed to be here at 9 and you're at 9:30, you're in trouble. And so the problem with door-to-door is to activate. So a morning meeting is essentially when we meet, it then puts everybody in office, we rah-rah, and then we activate and we all go to neighborhood. If you're going office, home, then you've got to somehow reactivate. That's dumb. So go office, neighborhood. And so a lot of people have like, I had a client here yesterday at our boot camp and he's like, yeah, we have an 8 a.m. meeting once a week. And I was like, well, that's just dumb. Like, what time do you want them to work till? 8 p.m., right? So that's a 12-hour day. Why don't you have like a 12 p.m. meeting if you wanted to work to 8? Instead of like assume they're going to work from 8 to 8. They got families and lives and things like that. But if you want them to work till 5, then yeah, have an 8 a.m. meeting. And what do you do the rest of the week? So I think at minimum 3 times a week, and then the other days that you're not in person, meet virtually. I've built some really cool virtual cultures, but the sophistication of that's a little tougher. But you have now a structure to that meeting. Get numbers and have accountability. Then go some training and role playing. Go over some motivation. Get some goals and go hit it. And just structure that to where people feel involved. They're getting value. I watch a lot of meetings where it's like, so tell me about your deals. How'd it go yesterday? Okay. All right, let's get at it. And I'm like, dude, that's not a meeting. Like, a meeting should have high energy. It should be motivating. It should be educative and bring resources to it. That creates a successful meeting that activates work mode, and then we go hit it. That's an important piece of being successful in this industry. Public display of winning and losing. It's so simple, but it's like having a digital or physical dashboard that says top rep, bottom rep. And every day I get to put a number on the board and I either suck or I didn't. And nobody wants to be the guy to go write the number on the board and say, I can't sell. You know, and a lot of people are like, well, is that shaming or that's not good? I'm like, call it what you want to call it, but their bank accounts are shaming when nobody's selling, and it's embarrassing talking to Timmy who hasn't sold in 3 months, and you're like, what does he still do here? You know what I mean? Like eventually that either weeds out the crappy or it levels up the crappy and it keeps the good, and it drives this competitiveness. I think that people in meetings, they're afraid to call people out and be like, you didn't sell yesterday? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, and the expectation now is we sell, not the expectation is I come home with bagels. Yeah, so you have a meeting that's in person, and then throughout the day, the doors are a lonely place. So think of it as like when I'm out in a neighborhood and I feel like I'm the only person in a neighborhood, because you are, and everyone is out to get me, this is not fun. But if I feel like there's an army out here with me, even though I don't see them, because every 5 minutes or every 20 minutes, my phone is dinging going, got a deal. Oh, I'm at 3. I'm like, okay, they're doing something. I don't see them, but it feels real. And so I had a manager yesterday get mad at one of the reps. You know, here we have a gong because we're in office, right? And the guy was like, I don't like ringing the gong. He's like, I won't ring it unless it's a $30,000 deal. And I was like, okay. And so the manager said something really impactful that he reflected to me yesterday. He said, is the gong for you or is the gong for them? What do you mean? He goes, maybe you don't feel like you should ring it, but what is the gong saying to everybody else when you go hit it? It's giving them hope. It's creating their competition. It's then saying that this is what it gets exciting. So sometimes people in the group chat, when they're not putting their numbers or they're not giving high fives or they're not constantly communicating, even down to like, I sold Tiffany Smith, she's the mayor, Now all of a sudden, everybody in that town that's selling around me, it's like, hey, maybe other people could benefit from the name drop, and that needs to be communicated. Because as much as you think this is an individual sport, it's more like a team sport than you think, because there's this like pack mentality, and we'll see a lot more improved results collectively than we will individually. Yeah, I mean, whether it's Slack, Pronto, WhatsApp, GroupMe, I mean, there's all sorts of different apps out there. And then it's creating a cadence, meaning here's how we use the group. And I think there's standard bylaws by the group, meaning don't just over inundate with yays in this chat. You can do that in this chat, but this one's only announcements. No one else can post except me. This is important information so it doesn't get lost. You know what I mean? Or whatever the rules are. And create a system around how we communicate, even down to just like verifying. Let's say that I give you homework. I want a thumbs up to know that you accepted it and got it. Does that make sense? Instead of like, I communicate something to you that's important as a leader, and I'm like, I hope they all learned the thing and do the thing. But then what ends up happening is, 30% of people and then say, yay, I got it. And then 70% ignore it. And then you're sitting there going, I'm taking an energetic bandwidth, hoping that they do the thing I asked. You know what I mean? So it's give a command, over, copy, job done. You know what I mean? Having that like education around how do we communicate is an important part of being successful. I think communication, there's a chat element, but then there's like the voice memo element. Like, I'm going to send you love via voice memo. And then there's a call element, right? So I think some people misinterpret communication. If you give feedback via text message or chat, sometimes they can misinterpret because there's no tone, right?
Yeah.
They didn't put the heart emoji on that. Like, and people, and I feel like one of the most disgruntled pieces we get in an office or within a manager or an owner, a lot of times just a miscommunication. Yesterday I had a scenario where I sent a guy over to meet with one of my team members. He sends me a long voice memo at the end of the day and he's like, "You're really frustrating me, XYZ." And I was like, "Oh, you totally took this wrong. And I'm so grateful you communicated me back your frustration," because he might have carried that for like weeks and just been like, F this, I'm just not going to like be productive. And he had the emotional intelligence, which I appreciate, to say something to me. And I go, whoa, total miscommunication. I still want you to do the thing. You're crushing. Don't think less of you. I just thought I'd give you more resource, and they're here to support, not take over. That's where communication could kill a culture or promote a culture. Just because I know sales doesn't make me know how to communicate as a leader sometimes. Transactional communication sometimes is a lot different than relationship communication. That's different than leadership communication. And it's being able to like balance the text, the calls, the emails, the voice memos, and the feedback loops on Zero, all the different ways that we communicate verbally and non-verbally, textually and not, and knowing that that's a huge part that drives your experience in production.